know that you guys are so stoked to learn about flat files today. The reason that we're doing this is because even though I know how to use Amazon flat files, I hate them. So one day in the life of Amy Weiss, I met this girl named Vanessa Hung, and I learned that she doesn't mind flat files.
Yeah.
And so now, anytime I'm in trouble with a flat file, I don't do it anymore. I just call my friend Vanessa over at Online Seller Solutions. And yeah, so I'm so glad that we're friends, Vanessa.
Yes.
For more than the reasons of that you're really good at flat files, but also because you're really, really fun to hang out with. And you know, when I learned at Prosper that you were going to dress up for the Foundry party, and you went with me to go get a flapper costume in the middle of nowhere in Las Vegas.
That's a good story.
We had so much fun and we had a blast. So I knew, I was like, this is my girl right here. She's awesome. So you guys, I'm so excited to have Vanessa on the show today. I know that all of you, because I struggle with it too, all of you want to figure out how to use flat files, because you know that that's the only real way to handle your listings anymore and make changes. And if you open a case with seller support, they're just going to tell you to delete your listing and use a flat file. And you're like, what? Delete my listing? And what's a flat file? So anyway, that's Vanessa agreed to come and talk to us today about flat files and come and teach us about what to look out for, how to use them. And so just welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Thank you so much, Amy. I'm so happy to share this space with you and with the people that are watching right now. So a little bit of background. Yes, I love flat files. It's not that I don't mind using them. It's that I love them. I think they are this amazing tool to handle, manage, and do everything in Seller Central without the help of seller support or any additional software. I think they're amazing. I'm the founder and CEO at Online Seller Solutions. And what we do is we help sellers with their everyday management of their Seller Central accounts. So anything related to catalog, inventory, and account health, we take care of, while the seller can focus on what it really matters for their business and for their growth. So Seller Central is not a pain anymore. That's what we've been specializing on. Actually, my biggest specialty or what I like to do the most is just solve catalog issues. And there is a point where it's not only that you or seller support tells you, okay, delete your listing and use a flat file. It gets more complex than that. And that's where most of the sellers struggle. And that's why they hate it or they're afraid to it. Because obviously in the problem solving side of the flat files, that's where it gets really complex. And
Yeah.
I'm here today to teach you how to read those, to understand the principles. So no matter what problem you're facing, you will be able to handle. And I'm excited. I hope you learn a lot. And yeah, any questions you have along the way while I'm talking and presenting, feel free to put it in the chat, and Amy will ask that, or maybe we'll leave it to the point where it's appropriate to ask. I'll be teaching you not only flat files for the catalog, but other 6 types. So you wonder, okay, so these are not only for the catalog. What else can I do with them? So that's what I'm gonna teach you today.
I love it. And we already have questions coming in. So I'm definitely going to be monitoring the questions, and I'm going to let Vanessa get into her presentation so that we can kind of compile those questions, and we will definitely take your questions. I see Jeff is already has some questions for us. So that's awesome. All right, Vanessa, I'm going to share your screen. Are you ready?
Perfect.
Let's do it.
You see my presentation, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So the title today is How to Master Flat Files on Amazon, and this is the secret behind your catalog data. So the first thing, and this is something that we research within our own channels in social media, is that 6 out of 10 sellers do not know what is or how to use a flat file. And this is very concerning because they are the basis of catalog management. If you don't understand them, you probably are facing issues and you probably have problems within your catalog, or you are not aware that problems could happen, or you don't know how to solve it. So that's why I get into this task of preaching flat files to everybody, telling them like, hey, this could not only be your best friends, but also they're not hard to use. So before we get into the flat file theory, I want just to go over the contribution right thesis that I developed, which is the ability that sellers have to change attributes or to contribute to the catalog. So if you see in the pyramid, sellers are at the bottom of the pyramid. That means that we have the lower contribution rights in the whole catalog. So when you have that as the premise of this is how it's done, and we are not as powerful as other entities in the on Amazon, you really need to get savvy and to understanding the flat files and working with them in order to contribute to your listings. So within the seller base, we have sellers that have brand registry and sellers that don't have brand registry. And this difference is extremely important because when you have brand registry, you will be able to change attributes and to solve problems with flat files easier than when you don't have brand registry. And I think, Amy, this is something that you talk about a lot when you help sellers to get into Amazon. The first thing that you normally advise is like, hey, if you're building a brand, get a trademark, because that will help you a lot, not only in all the benefits that brand registry have, but also into the problem solving and building listings and fixing and managing your catalog. So on top of them, on top of sellers, we have the vendors. And this is the 1P relationship that Amazon have with sellers. So the people that show us are sold and shipped from Amazon. And then at the top of the pyramid is Amazon itself. So to understand a little bit on how we're gonna use flat files to navigate through this contribution right pyramid is that any change that Amazon makes, which is they are at the top of the pyramid, overrides whatever we have in our listing. And being aware of that, not to be like, oh my god, so they have all the control. It's like, yeah, part of it is true, but the other part is that Amazon um, rewards sellers that contribute and fill a lot of information within the catalog. So we need to understand this. And when there is the moment of solving problems with flat files, having Amazon or having seller support or the brand registry team helping us, you will see that any change that you make in the flat file can be approved or changed or override by the internal team on Amazon. So I just want you to be aware of this, and this is how the catalog works, and this is how the contribution rights work. So if we don't understand this part and we go directly to flat files and use them and upload them and say like, oh no, Vanessa didn't say the things right because that's not true, anything's changing, I still have problems, it's because something in this ladder, it's failing. So either you don't understand how to approach the catalog or the catalog team or the brand registry team, or something internally on Amazon, the internal team as they call it, it's overriding your contributions. So let's get into the topic. So intro to flat files, this is super 101 for us to be in the same page when I talk later and show you a real category listing report. So what are they? There are templates given by Amazon, normally in an Excel spreadsheet format, and they can be used to store, input, change information about many aspects of your selling account. So the structure. This is important. So when we download any kind of template, we have a huge file, and in Excel, at the bottom, we have different sheets, different tabs. So these ones are where the information is stored, and the main template or the sheet that we're gonna use to change information, it's called template. The other ones, like you see here, are instruction, images, example, data definition, valid values, and things like that. For this specific example, this is the category listing report or a category report. This has to be with the catalog information. If we download other spreadsheet that you will see the types later, we may have other kind of information, but always the one where you're gonna change and contribute, input, or delete information is called template. So then we have the schema of the template. And this is the pre-formatted information that is at the top of the spreadsheet and give you the structure and the purpose for this specific flat file. So in this case, this is a category listing report. And as you can see, you have all the information. So the type of product, your selling SKU, the brand name, the product name. This is related to obviously the attributes in the catalog, but there are other templates that have different information like the price, the quantity, the shipping options, the orders, or things like that. Then we have the open fields. And these are all of the cells that are able to input information. And this is important that we understand. There are many different, well, there are two types of cells in a spreadsheet. And it's the open fields, which is the ones that you can input information with just a limit of characters. So for example, in the title, you can only have 250 characters instead of other type of cells, which is a drop-down menu, meaning that the system will only accept valid values that Amazon sets for that attribute. So for example, in the product ID type, this is a cell that is a closed cell, like the information there you can only input from the drop down menu. And this is something that sometimes, and I get a lot of questions about this, is that sellers come and say like, hey Vanessa, but I wanted to put for example, in the size of a clothing piece, they said like, okay, but I wanted to put something like extra large parentheses like 12/14, something like that. And in that example, that type of cell does only allow the valid values that Amazon give you. And the cool thing about it, if you ever download a flat file and you don't know what kind of values are available for that specific attribute, you can go to the sheets of the template and you can see here in valid values, it will give you a list. So you will search for the name of the attribute, and then next to that, you will see all the valid values that are allowed. Anything that is not there, it will give you an error for sure.
Yeah, I know one of the other things that a lot of people don't realize is when before they're brand registered, when they create a listing and they just type in their brand name, that brand is not available in the drop down yet, either in the listing creation field or in a flat file. But the reason it's so important, if they want to be able to create A+ content and have that product be actually recognized as registered underneath their brand, they need to use that drop down. Whether or not they're on a flat file or they're in the create a listing screen in Seller Central, they have to use the drop down to get to select their brand in order to have that product assigned to their brand. So I love how you pointed out that it's very important that people use, if there's a drop down field, they need to use one of the options in that drop down.
For sure. And most of the times when we are like creating this from scratch, the brand name is normally an open field, meaning that they won't give you a drop down menu at the beginning just because you can really input whatever you need, right? And it's extremely important also, Amy, that when you put the information of your brand name, you make sure that it's exactly typed as you have it registered with brand registry. So any discrepancies, if it's a lowercase, uppercase, space, slash, whatever it is, it needs to be exactly the same, because if not, the ASIN won't get connected to the brand catalog manager. And this is where a lot of people fail to get access to a lot of the privilege and all the programs that brand registry comes with, is because the ASINs are not connected. And most of the times it's because a discrepancy in the name. So, yes. And the last part of the structure of a flat file, and this is something that's called the processing report. We will only find a processing report after we upload our first flat file, meaning we download the information, and then we change, we input, we delete, whatever, from our catalog, and then we upload it. After we upload it, if there is any errors, the processing report is the one that is going to tell you what are those errors and how to solve them. So you see something like this. As you can see here at the bottom, you see that feed processing summary is now one of my tabs, one of the sheets that report has. After you input and it doesn't work, it wasn't successful. And here it tells me the type of error and the error message. This for me is the biggest benefit, or why I love flat files, is because of this. Why? When we start working with our catalog, making changes or updating or trying to solve problems, most of the times, 90% of the time, uh, in Seller Central, we don't find what the error is. And that for default, then the seller gets annoyed, and it's like, okay, let me open a case with seller support and ask them. And what they do, what seller support do to find the issue or solve the problem, is basically getting a processing report on what is the problem with your listing. So with this, you can skip a lot of time, and you can save a lot of time and headaches just communicating with seller support to find what the issue is. And sometimes I even recommend you, if you download your category listing report, and then I'm going to explain what it is in a moment. But if you download that report and just without doing any changes, you just upload it, that will come back with errors most of the times. And there is where you find what are the issues that you are now having in your catalog and how you can fix them without them becoming a problem in the short or the long term. You can prevent those issues just by download this processing report and getting information of discrepancies that are in the catalog. So this is amazing, and this is the biggest advantage that using flat files have, instead of creating or changing information with the Seller Central user experience. So then we have types. And this is important because Amazon allows you to get a lot of flat files for different areas of your business. For inventory and catalog, I'll talk a lot about the category listing report and the category specific templates. Those are the ones that compound all attributes in the catalog where you can input information. Then we have flat files regarding to shipping, order, pricings, and advertising. So these are 6 examples of what the most common ones and the ones that are useful to change, upload information. So the first one is the inventory files for specific categories. This is the type of template that you download when you want to create a new listing from scratch and you don't have anything in your inventory. So for example, Amy is going to launch a new brand in the pet category, okay? When you download the inventory file for a specific category, you will get all the information, all the attributes that are allowed to be filled in the pet category. So you only will see the category and the subcategory that you selected there. And this is better when you want to, or when you have a big catalog with different kind of categories, because it gets easier to manage and understand what attributes are related to what category. I will explain that when we get into the category listing report. Then we have the inventory loader file. It's used to add your listings to Amazon, and also it can work to delete the listings. The inventory loader file is gold. Like, it's one of the best templates to problem solving things on the catalog. With this, you can fix stranded inventory when sometimes, and Amy was mentioning this at the beginning, sometimes when you have an issue and you call seller support and they tell you, yeah, you need to delete the listing, and then release it again 24 hours later. And when you do that, most of the times that doesn't work. And it's because you deleted from Seller Central. And deleting from Seller Central is a very soft kind of delete. Um, so, sorry. Um, so what we use the inventory loader file is, and I can show you then an example, is to get the async and then click X delete. What we do with X delete is deleting the whole async from the whole catalog. So that's like a reboot. Like, we are really refreshing very hard the information that is in the back end. So for price and quantity, that's another file that we can use when we do merchant fulfilled. This is the easiest file where we can change the pricing of all our inventory, changing all the quantities. So if, for example, you want to run not a coupon or a sale, but if you just want to lower or put your prices higher, by downloading this report, you just, with a click and a simple formula, you can change that and upload it really quick if you're not using a different software for that. So then we have the shipping override template. This helps again for FBM sellers to create shipping templates for each specific SKU in bulk. So the biggest benefit of using flat files also is that you can change information in bulk. So you don't need to go in Seller Central one by one to change it or uploading or deleting. That this will help you with it. Then we have the listing quality and suppressed listing file. This is the newest one, and it's amazing because now when we download this template, what we will find is the recommendations that Amazon gives us to upload or update or enhance our listings. So if you go now to your Seller Central and you download this template, you will get the list of all the asyncs that Amazon is recommending you to input more information. And again, Amazon really rewards sellers for putting information into their listings, for getting, like, going above and beyond, like filling in all attributes possible for their category. And lastly, the automate pricing file. This works directly with the internal repricer that Amazon have, where you can set parameters, rules, and select all the SKUs in bulk again, so you don't really need to do it manually. These are the 6 templates that I love and that I use frequently to help change and manage things inside without the need of calling, of doing it manually, or using an external software.
I love it. I learned so much just listening to you go over all of these templates because I didn't know about the inventory loader file for X deleting listings, and I didn't know about what X delete meant. So that is super helpful because I actually had a client call yesterday with somebody who had to delete a listing. And so it would have been helpful to know that that's the best way to delete a listing when you have to delete it. So yeah, so much informative information. Thanks.
So Amy, to give you the example, so in the inventory loader file, you have three things that you can do. You can add, you can delete, or you can X delete. And the difference between the delete and the X delete is that when you delete an async, just plain delete, it's like you deleting it from Seller Central, which is it just will disappear from your inventory, meaning that you won't see it in your inventory, but in the backend on Amazon catalog, the information will still be there. So if in the future somebody comes with that same async number or that same UPC and input it in the catalog, they will be able to find your async. When we do X delete, we're telling the system, delete everything. So there you are not only deleting from your inventory, from your front end, but you're also deleting from the back end of Amazon catalog. And this is the best way to reset the inventory in order to fix that async in like 24 hours later or 48 hours later, because at that point, everything that was conflicting in the backend will be gone.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yep. So, as I mentioned, there is one big, and this is my favorite by far, category of all time. It's the all in one flat file where you can see the attributes of the catalog, the price, the quantities, and the shipping template. And that is called the category listing report. It's only available by request, and this is why most sellers are not aware that it exists. It has the complete information for your catalog. It compounds all the categories that you're selling in. It's customizable, and it's my favorite way to do catalog troubleshooting. So to explain a little bit, it's only available by request. Yes, you need to open a case with seller support and request them to give you access to the category listing report. You can do it via email or phone call. They really don't take long to give it to you. It's maybe 10 minutes after you request, you will already have access. Where we can find this report, if you go to your Seller Central, click on inventory, and then on inventory reports. And in that dashboard, you will see at the top, you will see a drop-down menu with all the type of inventory reports that you can download. If you haven't request access, you won't see the option that is called category listing report. After you request this, you will see that option and you will be able to download it. Normally, seller support give you access for 7 days. When you start requesting it very frequently, they will bump that up to 14 days and sometimes to 30 days. But the thing is that you need to request it constantly if you're gonna use it. The second part is your complete catalog information. And this is important because sometimes when I say like the category listing report gives you the information of the whole catalog, it's not the whole catalog. It's just your asyncs, your products, and the information that you have contributed to those listings. And this is a big difference sometimes. Sellers that are in the reselling business, they are like, okay, perfect. Now I can see all the information that I have for, or that it is on Amazon for the asins that I resell. And that's not the case because when you just list an asin, You didn't create it, you just listed, and you download the category listing report, you will only see the ASIN and maybe the title and the brand name, nothing else. You won't see what is in the back end of the catalog. And
So
this,
Jeff
yeah.
has a question about this that's actually kind of related. He says, with sellers, how does Amazon determine who is the contributor? Support said that the contributor rights were given to another third party because their sales were better, even though we own the brand.
Okay, that's a great question, and it's very related to the pyramid that I showed you at the beginning. So the contribution rights are point system based. Okay, it is. I think it goes from 0 to 1,000, and in each listing or each brand, the seller has their own specific points. So, for example, if you're selling two brands that are not yours, you can have 400 in in one brand or in one listing, and 700 in another one. How does Amazon measure those metrics? The first one is obviously the sales, the amount of sales that you're getting for that ASIN. Okay, so if you're the biggest seller for that ASIN, that gives you a lead. The second one is if you created the listing, created the ASIN. And this is the biggest one or the heaviest one, the one that
Yeah,
will give you the most amount of points.
that's
Is when,
probably what happened with his is somebody else created that listing and had that sales history. And so even though he owns the brand now, he's not able to get those attributes back, right?
yes, yes. And the third one is when you, so Amazon will not only see the amount of sales that you have for that specific ASIN, but also it will take in consideration how many products you have in your catalog from that brand. So, for example, if I sell Nike and I have only one ASIN from Nike, I won't be able to get really high in my contribution score because I only have one. And they also take in consideration how big is my catalog for that brand. So if I have, let's say, 1,000 different ASINs from Nike, my chances of having a contribution are higher contribution score. It's higher, and the system also. Though these points are when winning the contribution war or when winning like the presence in the listing, the buy box and all this stuff. This is where it gets interesting because different sellers can have different like scores in different ASINs within the same brand. So probably for Jeff, he has his brand and probably he's winning in all other ASINs, but in the one that other seller created before him, or for some reason they were able to get the contribution rights.
Yeah, and
And
I know it's really hard if if you own a brand that others are authorized to sell. The only way to remove those sellers from that listing is for you to control your supply chain and get that brand gated from other sellers selling it. And so it's often very difficult for brands that come on Amazon later when other sellers are already selling. But the other questions that we have that are related, Marina wants to know, how often can I request a category listing report? And that's like every day, right, Vanessa? She can.
well, you don't really need to request it every day because each time you request it, the minimum amount of days that they allow you to download it is 7. So technically, each 7 days you will be able to request it because once it's open, once it's there to download, you don't really need to request it again. You just do it
Right.
once every 7 days.
That
But there
makes
is
sense.
no limit. There is no limit. This information is yours. I believe that the only reason why they are not, they don't have this flat file open and available for everybody is because it takes a lot of resources. Like it's heavy. These kind of files are very heavy to get, because it has all the information from all the categories that you have in your inventory, put it there. So I believe that's the only reason why they don't have it openly, because it takes too many resources.
Yeah, and that automatically answers Jeff's second question here, which is, can the category template auto-generate our ASINs, or do we have to put them in manually? And when you download a category listings report, Jeff, you can automatically have your ASINs and any information that is associated with those ASINs inside of that category listings report. So that's a great way to update your listings, right, Vanessa, in terms of if he wants a template that already has all the information in it, so he doesn't have to type it into a blank inventory file. It's a great way to do it is to download the category listings report and then update those attributes there and then upload that in the inventory file.
Exactly. And that's the difference between the category listing report and this one, which is the inventory files for specific categories. When we download the inventory file for specific categories, we have an empty template. That doesn't have information filling beforehand. So yes, that's a way to do it. But just remember, when you download this report, it will only have the information that you have contributed. And this is funny because sometimes when you are not the owner of the listing, or you don't own those contribution rights, some information that you get into this category listing report could be different from the information that is in the front end. So you downloaded your report and you see that your title is ABC. That's the title that you want to have in this ASIN. But then when you go to the front end, which is Amazon.com, you will see that it says 123, which is the one that the old one, or the one that you want to change. And these discrepancies are or having this report will give you these discrepancies once you upload it and get the processing report, which is the one that it will give you the errors. So it will tell you this type of discrepancies. So the other feature is that it has all categories attributes. And this is super interesting in the side of brand protection and getting better, stronger and more robust listings. So this is what happens, Amy. You, for example, you're selling into the pet category, okay? You are selling a dog leash, and you're selling also a brush for dogs, okay? Those are like within the category tree, those are in different subcategories, okay? But technically they are together, they are related by the main category, which is the pet supply category. Each different subcategory have different attributes. For example, for the leash one, you probably have an attribute that is called length of the leash or color, okay? That's some options. But for the brush, probably length of the leash is not something that is applicable to that specific product, but because it is within the same main category, you can use that to input information. Obviously, in this case, it needs to be very specific, like length of the leash is probably not applicable for a brush, but length just by itself probably is not an attribute that is a default in that subcategory, but because you have it in your category listing report from another product that you're selling, you can input information there, and that can be shown in the front end. So bear with me, this is probably a little bit abstract, but just to give you an example, a seller came and said like, hey, when I go to the front end of my listing in the pro detail page, I'm seeing in the table that is under the price, where you have sometimes very technical specifications, so the technical details of the listings, I'm seeing there that Amazon put that my product is made of wood, but it's actually not made of wood, it's made of rubber. But when I download the report and I download the specific category template, it doesn't allow me to input the information, that information. It doesn't allow me to say what is the material of the product. So what we did is borrow from a sister subcategory that um, that attribute, that column, input it in this flat file, and just change the information. And this is where it gets amazing, and it's tied to the fourth feature. It is customizable. So this is
Wow.
the part that for me is like, oh my god, this is awesome. It's like coding for some reason, and I see it like that, and it's amazing. Why? Because then we can get playful and we can start like, okay, let me see what attributes I can borrow from my sister categories, put it into my listing, and then like I wouldn't say a lot most of the time, so probably 50% of the times those attributes that I borrow are shown in the product detail page. So that's where you see sometimes where you're going over to like in your competitors, you will see like, hey, I don't understand why my competitor have these specific technical details in the product listing, because I don't see that. So that's what they do. They customize their
Ah,
own category listing report or their own flat file where they borrow other things. And because the system allow it, because it's a sister subcategory, it's shown on the pro detail page. That's better for SEO. That's awesome for brand protection. And that
yeah.
really gives you a lot of points in the contribution right ladder.
That answers so many questions over so many years of coaching calls and looking at different listings and looking at competitors' listings and trying to figure out what back end attribute is that related to. So, Vanessa, is this called? Jeff says, I'm going to have to rewatch this video at least a dozen times. Thanks, Amy and Vanessa, for doing this. So, this file is it called a features report, or is this your category listings report, but you have
Features.
to?
So this is the category listing report, and this
Yep.
is the list of features. So if we go here, check this out. This is a category listing report. See,
Right.
so for example, this and I highlight this when I download my category listing report. I this column, is it the item heat sensitive, was not there. Why? Oh, okay. So in this fictitious line of product, these are coffee beans. Okay. When I download the specific category template for this subcategory, which is coffee beans, heat sensitive is not a possible attribute, because if you think about it, Amazon says like, okay, like coffee beans are not heat sensitive, therefore we are not putting that option as an attribute possible. But what I did was, okay, I took it from another template, from a sister category, which is probably in the grocery and gourmet, chocolates. Okay, and I took this column and I just inserted here. So now what I'm gonna do is just fill in the information. I'll put no. Okay, and this is important, and it gets tied to a bigger problem. So when we get into the summer, I don't know if it happens to you or any of your clients, but a lot of people came to me and they were like, oh my god, my listings are now stranded because Amazon thinks that they are heat sensitive, therefore they cannot be in FBA during the summer. But my
Yeah.
products are not really heat sensitive, or I are not related to this or this and that, because the category didn't have this specific attribute. They weren't able to input this information. So when the system just scanned through the whole grocery and gourmet category, they say like, because this doesn't have information, it means that it is heat sensitive, right? So
Right.
so that's where it gets really playful, not only into the building a stronger listing or product detail page, but also preventing problems in the future. Another example in this category, in the groceries and gourmet, is the column that is called, is it an adult product? So which is like an adult product.
You're about
That
to reveal how competitors are taking other people out.
Yes, yes. So that attribute, that column, doesn't exist in the gourmet and grocery. But if I just take it from another category and put it here, and it's as simple as doing this: insert, and I just create another column. I just need to know what you need to really know, and take it from other template, is these two things that are very specific. Like, this is not that I made things up. I really need to call it how the system calls it in order for the system to read it. But it's simple. You play with it. So going with what you just said, some people come to me and say like, oh my god, my product was taken down because now Amazon says it's an adult product, but it's actually a makeup thing, and that's not an adult product. What happened is that somebody else, because you didn't input information, and this is what we're gonna discuss in the next slide, but flat files serve in a greater purpose of protecting your brand. And how you protect your brand? By inputting as much information as you can in this flat file. So here you see I have a lot of information open, like empty. This is the common mistake, or this is a common flat file when I download from a seller that have never optimized this. But in the ideal world, for you to protect yourself, and not only that, but to gain contribution points with Amazon, is filling in information. Like, you need to put here as much information as you can, even if it's not directly applicable to your product. And in that case, you put something easy like NA. I don't know why I'm not selecting this anymore. So temperature rating. So maybe in this drop-down menu, I have not applicable. I do this, or I write this, not applicable. Okay, because in this case it's not applicable to my listing, but just by filling the information there, it locks the field, and it will protect myself from other people coming in and filling information for me. So that's how
Or
you
putting
protect
a
yourself.
word there that's going to automatically get flagged as a pesticide or something else, and have
Correct.
your listing flagged and taken down. And you're like, I have no idea what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
So then catalog troubleshooting, the last feature, I think I already talked about it, is when you upload this just by itself, just if you download it today and just upload it immediately, that will give you all the issues that you have in the catalog. And then you will have a lot of fun, because some stuff that you weren't aware of that are happening, and if you fix it, Amazon will give you more contribution rights. You will have better chances of protecting yourself and your brand. So in the case of Jeff, imagine that. So this is an example. I have my trademark, I have my brand registry, I created my own listing. But when I created, I just input the title, the bullet points, and description. That's it. Everything else, I left that empty. A savvy seller comes in and said like, hey, this guy left everything empty, so now I'm gonna input that information. And what Amazon will see, because they cannot see if this seller comes from a nice background, or is doing it nicely, or to really contribute in the best way, or it's really coming to hijack. What they see is that somebody else is filling or putting information in the catalog, and they reward that. They don't have a system to tell if this is a hijacker of a person that is just giving a better shopping experience. So anything that comes with, now we have more information in our catalog, Amazon rewards that. And that's for example, in this case where I created and I put this, but it was incomplete, somebody can come, fill it in more, and then probably have a higher contribution rise than me because they did a better job by inputting all attribute information. So again, Amazon rewards contributors, and using flat files is the best way to contribute. And then you will ask, okay, I already told you some of the tips on how you can use flat files for your business. But then I want you to step out of this rabbit hole of all attributes and things and information that I'll just gave you, and see three main things that you can use flat files for. The first one is database. And I think this is extremely important because when we have the information of our catalog in an Excel spreadsheet and it's accurate and it's good and we have the contribution rights for it, we have the data, we have the power. That's an asset for our company. So probably some sellers that are watching or they will watch the recording, they'll say like, hey, Vanessa, I'm in this business because I want to sell my brand in the future. So if you don't have a database, a strong database of your assets, and think about it, on Amazon, really, our only asset is the data that we input in the catalog. Everything else is not ours. Everything else is Amazon's, basically. So having that information and being on top of that, like, and having the most contribution right is what will set you apart from other sellers that are just the listers. So who worth more? The seller, the owner of the listing, the one that created, that contributed and input all the information and protect that listing, or the lister, the one that just lists something and then is waiting for somebody to buy their brand or something like that, where somebody just can come and hijack their listing. That's super easy. So if you're in the long-term game of selling your brand, using flat files as your database is extremely important. Not only for all the management stuff, which is the second application, which is problem solving. It will give you the power to manage your day-to-day problems and your hard to fix issues in the catalog and the inventory. They are your best friends if you don't like, as nobody ever said, like they you don't like to go to seller support immediately. You get savvy, you understand what the issue is, and when you have that report, you can go and open a ticket with seller support explaining exactly what is happening and looking for an answer there. But you already know what is happening. You're not like, okay, seller support, please solve this issue. No, it's like, look, I already upload my report. It's giving me the error 9344. I think this is the problem. There is a discrepancy. Please fix it. That's a better approach than just saying like, okay, something is happening, fix it. And lastly, brand protection. And this is what we spoke and Amy just said about, somebody can come and say that your product is an adult product, or can put a prohibited word, a pesticide keyword that can get you shut down with an account health situation. So it can be used as a defense offensive mechanism, and this is borrowing from other categories, other attributes, putting your listing stronger. Like you can honestly, obviously I'm telling you all of this for you to work in your business, and this is super white hat. There is no black hat here. But once you understand how the system works, you really can do some damage with flat files. So if you can use them for wrong, but the idea is just to protect yourself from the hijackers and from Amazon itself, because I've seen sometimes that Amazon contribute to listings and they then just make a mess.
Jeff says, one of my brands that is a child's toy was flagged as adult. Now I know why.
Yes. So I'm just gonna leave you with, data is your most valuable asset for your business. So you should storage and manage it with care. And I hope that now you understand how to do it with flat files. And yes, knowledge is not power until it's implemented. So feel free to ask questions. I'll be here like answering questions. If not, here's my contact information. If you want to reach out, ask for more help, like send me your flat file and you want me to give you a perspective of what is happening and how can you solve it, feel free to do that. We can just go through the questions if there is any
Okay,
more. I don't see
so
them.
Jeff wants to know, how do I download a template with titles, bullets, and with titles and bullet points only, without having to upload an entire category file in Excel? I just want to change those attributes.
Perfect. That's a great question, and I'm sorry I didn't mention that. But in the customizable feature of flat files, we are able to upload we are able to, yes, upload the template with the attributes we want and the required ones. So for example, this part, this until here, okay, these are the required attributes that a flat file needs to have in order to work. You cannot delete anything here, because if you delete the brand name, this is a problem, or if you delete the product type, that's a problem. Anything beyond that, so for example, and this is a very common question that I get, hey Vanessa, I want to use a flat file, but I don't have the images URL and I don't know what to do. Can I upload it? You just do this. That's it. You delete that
What?
side. Yeah, it's completely customizable. You don't. So if
You
you
can
don't
do
want,
that with any category file.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The only
How did
ones.
I not know that earlier, Vanessa? I'm just going to pay you to supervise me as I do every single flat file from this point forward.
So the one that you should not delete either is this one, update delete, which is obviously the one that it will tell the system what to do with this information. So these are the only ones, but like from here, from like all the way to whatever, you can literally delete. You don't need to upload it with this information.
Got it.
So when we do changes for clients that are like, I just need to fix the size, we delete everything else and we just work with what is like required 100%. um and yeah, all the rest you can delete it. And
And then also mark it, you probably also mark it as a partial update as well in the update file, instead of saying like update or update delete, right?
okay, this is also a very common question that I get, and I think my answer is it can cause a polemic. I use most of the time update, because I customize my templates, and when I put update, for example, I just want to change the color and I delete everything else and I just put update, the system knows that or the system knows that it needs to be updated, just that attribute. So 95% of the times I'm working with flat files and using update. I don't really like partial update because for me it doesn't do anything in the problem solving side of the of flat files.
So
It
you're
doesn't
using
really help.
update because you really want to push the update. You're not trying to leave anything. So Jeff wants to know, are the mandatory fields, because you said you could delete most of them, what are the mandatory fields that you can't delete or you shouldn't delete? How do you find that out?
So I don't have a Seller Central account open, but it's easy. If you, so I know for sure that the one that is in this color, it needs to be there, like the first ones, okay? And I can tell you the most obvious ones: the product ID, the title, the brand name, the SKU, the item type keyword. But and also this one, the one that is called update delete. But if you want to know for sure what's the name, because you see that it has name, the sections have names. So this is called variation, this is called basic, this is called discovery. I think basic and this one, template type, those are the ones that are a must have. But if you want to make sure of it, when you go to inventory, add products via upload, then in the three tabs on the top, you want to download a category report, a category template, okay? And then when you choose your category, the system will tell you if you want to have the regular report or you can customize it, which is an advanced setting. You click there and customize it, and you will see that in the side of the custom file that you can build, there are two things that you cannot delete, which is this one, the template and the basics.
Got it.
I'm 99% sure that those are the cases. I'm not sure if I am missing something.
I
don't
always
think so.
go into it's like there's another tab in the spreadsheet that tells you, I think it was on one of your slides, that tells you if it's required or not.
Yes, and you cannot get yes, I know which are you talking about, but you don't find that information there. So
yeah, it's not, it says it's required sometimes when it isn't.
Yeah.
It's like the data definitions, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
No, don't pay attention to that, because I know they put there that you need everything and you don't.
Got it. All right. We have two more
Anyway.
questions.
Okay.
Let's see. Marina wants to know, do I upload flat files for the same ASINs in the US and Canada, or only one marketplace?
So the category listing report, when you download it is related to the marketplace where you download that. And this is important because in the compliance section, which is normally the dark brown one, in the compliance section, this here, it's where the compliance is. So this is related to compliance, is related to United States, because this template's from the United States. When you download the category listing report in Canada, this is completely different and it will ask you different questions. If you are working with a specific category template, which is the one that you can download in that section which I just mentioned, you there can choose for what marketplace that template is built. So if you choose all Americas, which it compounds States, Canada, and Mexico, you will find in the compliance section and all the different stuff, you will find the information that is needed for the States, for Canada, and for Mexico. But the category listing report is just from the marketplace where you download it. So you technically cannot use a category listing report from the States and upload it in Canada. That will give you an error.
Got it. So you'd want to request it in each of your marketplaces if you want to use a category listings report. Otherwise, just use your inventory template and fill it in appropriately for that country.
Correct.
Okay. And then Joel wants to know, is it possible to change my category using flat files? I believe Amazon changed it to adults.
Yes, you can. You need to find in your category listing report, you need to find that attribute that is called, is it an adult product, and change it to no, and then change the category. It is completely possible. I don't know what's the stage at this moment of your listing specifically, but with that, I think I have it. Just give me 1 second. So yes, it's this one. It's this column. So when you have your category template and you see this, you need to put no, upload that. Probably you need some time to get that refreshed, but after that, you can really change it and contribute yourself to the listing.
Got it. That makes sense. Well, Vanessa, I think you have absolutely blown them away as usual. Todd says, this has been very valuable. Thank you. I've already sent an email to Vanessa about using her services. I know, I'm hooked on Vanessa's services as well. And Marina says, thank you. It helps a lot. Holy moly, that was a lot of information. And like my brain is exploding And I don't know how you keep it all straight, but this is like what you do all day, every day, and you love it. And I can see why you love it, because you're a problem solver.
Yeah.
Like, you really like to solve problems and you like to figure things out. And I can see why you get so excited about this. And that part makes sense to me. I think because I don't work with flat files as much, and every time I do work with them, I have some kind of problem that I have to troubleshoot. I get so frustrated with it. But thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I love it. And yes, feel free to reach out, and we can do a second round, and then we go to a specific workshop. I don't know, whatever, but I can talk about this all day.
She just never gets tired of this subject.
Yeah, I don't really.
Jeff says, you guys are awesome. How do I get your email addresses? So Vanessa had hers up there, but you can just go to onlinesellersolutions.com and click the contact button, or you can go to amazingathome.com and click the contact button there. Either one of us is good. And you can find Vanessa on social at
fulltime.amazon, on Instagram, and then Vanessa Hung on LinkedIn.
Yes, very good. Awesome. All right. Well, we don't want to keep Vanessa any longer, or she might not want to come back. You know, we can't keep her for 4 hours, even though I could just keep learning about this all day. It's really awesome. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for being here. Thank you for helping us understand all of these cool reports that we can have access to. And thank you everyone for being here. This is one of the most active live streams we've ever had. So this is clearly a topic that is just that people are crazy about. So thanks everybody for listening in and for your questions and for keeping it interesting and active. And, you know, Vanessa's around. She's always around. So continue to ask her questions if you have them. Like she said, she could talk about this stuff all day. And give this girl some extra business. She will literally, you guys, she will literally, if you don't want to deal with seller support, she will deal with seller support for you. Like, she will open a case for you. She will tell them exactly what they need to hear. She will see that case through to closure. I just had her help with one of my clients, and it took us, because it's Q4, right? And everything's locked down. So if you guys are trying to change your listings right now, good luck. But you're going to need Vanessa's help. But we went back and forth trying to get this listing updated. But she took care of everything, communicated the whole way through. It was just such a pleasure to work with you. So if you guys have anything where you don't want to deal with seller support, and you need somebody who knows how to talk to seller support and knows how to say the right things and knows how to see things through to conclusions, Vanessa's your girl. And
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.